This is my intro music. Welcome to the video. I hope you like it lots, so don't forget to subscribe and click the thumbs up button. Now let's react.
Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome to another episode of An Anthropologist Goes Over Gorl World, Dark Anthropology Edition. And yes, we are applying Dark Anthropology to the whole Rachel scandal, Rachel debacle. I don't know. It's spawned by Rachel and the whole reaction to Rachel Reacts, but it's also Jawbone and Hectacana and Studio Deets and a little bit of salty crab, though I'm not entirely sure how much salty crab. So, but thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you to my members. You guys rock. Thank you to everybody who's going to hit the thumbs up button. Let's get into this because this is going to be, I don't know. This might end up being a two-parter. We got a lot to cover because there's just a lot going on here. This is more of an examination of the Gorl World, both the Gorl World reactor community, myself being part of it, and the Gorl World viewer community, which I guess I also am part of because I do consume other reactors' content. Rachel being part of it up until recently. So, that being said, we are going to be looking at things through a lot of anthropology, obviously. And if you are not here for that, I don't know why you watch my channel. And this is going to be a lot more, I'm not going to say academic because let's be honest, but I am going to be using larger words than I normally use, and I'm going to be using deeper concepts than I normally use. If you've been here for one of my Dark Anthropology videos before, you're probably used to this. If you haven't, be prepared. If you don't like videos where it's just me talking, this is not going to be your video. If you do like these videos, go get your pen and your paper and get to take some notes because I've already taken notes and I'm going to be reading them. So there you go. Now, I just have a picture of Rachel up because this is she's what started all of this. And I don't know. So to get the ball rolling, I do belong to two Discords that are Gorl World related. They cover multiple aspects of Gorl World, multiple girls within Gorl World, not just Amber. And because I knew y'all asked me to do a Dark Anthropology video going over all of this, because I said I'm not going to go over any more of the Rachel Reacts stuff unless I was going to do a Dark Anthropology video. And so here we are. I asked my Discords, which are not private, by the way, what you all would like me to talk about in these Dark Anthropology videos, because I already have an idea of what I want to talk about, but I wanted to make sure that I was kind of hitting on some things and making sure that my ideas were in alignment with everybody else's ideas. And for the most part, we are. But there were a couple things that popped up that I had not thought about talking about. One of which being the differences between morality and ethics. To which I said, I am not a philosopher. And someone else said, well, our philosophy professor is on administrative leave, which I thought was funny. Anyhow, I am still not a philosophy major. But fear not. Anthropology does study morality and ethics. And I assume we come at it at a different angle than philosophy does. I've taken, I think, 2 whole classes of philosophy that dealt with morality and ethics. I took like an intro class, and then I took like a slightly more advanced philosophy. Look, I hated that professor, by the way. I hated that guy. So, you know, I'm not on that level. But anthropologically, the concepts of morality and ethics well, and even philosophically, morality and ethics are two different things, but they are related. And when we look at them anthropologically, they have a purpose. Morality is the structure of what a society or a culture group considers good. What they consider is acceptable and good within their group. So that is how they define themselves often as a group of people. And we can look at Gorl World, and we should look at Gorl World as a culture group, and even a subculture group, obviously. And then the ethics is the practice of morality. It's the practice of portraying good, of being good, the ritual of good. And one can also say ethics is the act of questioning morality. That's the major difference between morality and ethics. Morality decides what is good. Ethics is the practice of that good. Interestingly enough, Rachel did a whole video on what is good. I thought it was an interesting video. I thought it was well put together. I'm not going to link it, unfortunately. Sadly. That being said, a good example of this, I think, I'm going to try to make this a good example, is the concept of don't touch the poo. That is an excellent example of morality within Gorl World, because it's kind of well accepted that we don't touch poo. But the ethical practice then is not touching the poo. We don't interact with the girls. We don't interact with the side characters. We don't reach out to the parts of Gorl World. We observe from a distance. We react to what the girls put out. But it is that unspoken rule that you don't touch the poo. And we've heard a lot of that this past 2 weeks at this point, of don't touch the poo, right? And that's the difference between the moral, no poo touching, and the ethic, the practice of not touching the poo. The practice of not touching said poo. Because there's always a caveat. For every rule, there's a caveat, right? One can always argue that there seems to be universal morals. There appear to be universal morals, but appearances are misleading, because morals and ethics are fluid and they're social constructs, which means no society is identical. No society will have exactly the same morals and ethics. Within different societies, there's going to be different interpretations of what is morally acceptable and ethically acceptable. Right. So, going off of that, if we look at Gorl World as a culture group, we can then look at the discords, the various discords within Gorl World, as subgroups of Gorl World. So again, remember, morals and ethics are fluid within social groups. So that being said, there are caveats. So we can say as a group, we don't touch poo. Caveat being, sometimes the poo reaches out. Looking at times that Mr. Snowflake interviewed Amber's exes prior to Jade. We'll just say everyone before Jade. Jade hasn't been contacted. Please leave Jade alone. My point being, Beck and before, Snowflake did a series called Victims of an Empath. And Snowflake spoke with three of Amber's exes. all of which had been Amber's exes for a good deal of time, and all of which came forward mostly of their own accord. I think Snowflake may have put a feeler out there, but all of them came to him of their own accord. To my knowledge, there was no money exchange. There was just the offer of, hey, I'd like to get your story out there. This is to my knowledge. And then you also have Jordy, who has had side characters approach him to be on his platform to tell their stories. And I'm sure there have been other situations on other reaction channels where side characters have reached out to those reactors to use their platforms to tell their stories. All right. That is a caveat to the no poo touching, because the poo is reaching out to the reactor, not the reactor reaching out to the poo, right? So there's the caveat. So is it still unethical? Is it still unethical to touch the poo if the poo is reaching out? Right? But can we all agree that it is also unethical to proactively touch the poo? Can we all agree? Can we? So here's where subgroups within a larger group come into play. Discords are obviously subgroups within the larger group. These groups are also considered subcultures. Every culture is going to interpret things differently, correct? Yes. So we have the private Discord that Rachel was in with a number of other reactors who, when confronted with the concept of, the moral of don't touch the poo, have their own interpretation of that and their own ethical interpretation of what is good when it comes to poo touching. And they have a much more lenient definition of when it is ethically okay to touch poo compared to the Discord groups that I belong to, who have a different definition of poo touching. Like, we much less tolerant of the poo touching. There has been times where people have made suggestions of poo touching, and those have been shot down very quickly because my Discords don't tolerate that. But those are my Discords. I don't run those Discords. I am a member of those Discords, right? And my Discords are not private Discords. There's no such thing as a private Discord. I don't know who needs to hear that, by the way. Are there other Discords out there? Yes. A lot of the larger reactors have their own Discords. And each one of those Discords has its own culture. And each one of those Discords probably has their own interpretations of the various morals that are part of Gorlworld, right? And the poo touching is the one that I can think of because for obvious reasons. There are probably other morals that we could all probably come to an agreement on within Gorlworld. But as soon as we agree that it might be a moral within Gorlworld, we can immediately start coming up with caveats to it, which means we can come up with various ways for that to be ethically put into action. Have I rambled enough about this? All right. So that is the difference between morality and ethics. Lots of people like to overlap the two of them and treat them as if they are the same thing. They are not. They are related, but they are not the same thing. But that was a question that popped up when I was asking the two Discords that I am in, hey, I'm going to do a Dark Anthropology video on this whole thing. What are some things that you guys would like me to talk about? And this was one. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to work on that one. So there you go. There is your discussion on the anthropology of morals and ethics. Is there another anthropologist out there that could probably talk more in depth and with better authority on this? Yes, but I am the one you get. So there you go. If you have any questions about that, be sure to timestamp it. I'll do my best to find a better answer for you. And that's all I can offer you at this point. Philosophically, I don't know what the answer is philosophically because I'm not a philosopher and I'm not a sociologist. So I can't give you those answers. Since we have discussed morality and ethics, I want to go over this whole cycle with Rachel Reacts, but I want to talk about these reaction channels through this cycle. We're going to be using Zachary Michael's video here, Rachel and Gorl World Have a Problem, because it addresses Gorl World in general through, again, the lens of the Rachel Reacts channel. We're going to be using Charlie Gold's video. I'll remember the name of it when we get to it. But Charlie Gold was given receipts from the Discord, the private Discord, that Rachel, Hectacana, Jawbone, Studio Deets, and Salty Crab were all members of. And Charlie put together a very good video with some very good aspects to it. So we will be using that video as well to discuss the situation again around reaction channels in Gorl World. And then we will be using Rachel's reaction video to the whole thing I don't know how to really describe it. Rachel's reaction video to having the Discord be discovered and the receipts being given to Charlie. I'm not going to call that an apology video because it wasn't an apology in any way, shape, or form. But we're going to be using that video because it did highlight the reaction of the reaction channels to Charlie and Zachary Michael, but not by name. And we'll talk a little bit about Jawbone's post on his channel about his participation in the Discord, but video-wise, we're using Rachel's video. And then I feel like I should talk about my own video because this is my video. This is my channel. But I want to talk about my own video only because I am going to try to stay within this video as neutral as possible. Will I succeed? Meh. But the point is, when we talk about anthropology in this level, like we're doing in this video, anthropology doesn't pass judgments, or at least it's not supposed to. How successful are we? Depends. But I've already made videos talking about my take on this and my personal opinions of this. So this video isn't about that. This video is about observations of this whole situation and where it all falls within the cycle of manipulation and just observations in general. So if you want to see those videos, go watch those. If you want to stay here and see me attempt to stay neutral throughout this, stick around. But it is important that you know going into this that I am a participant observer in this, in that I am a reaction channel and I am an observer of reaction channels, Gorl World in general, and also the girls. So I observe these things that I also react to, right? And my observation affects what I observe. So these are things to keep in mind as we go forward. But I am also going to be categorizing Zachary, Charlie, and Rachel, and myself. Zachary put the first... I want to say Zachary put the first, like, highly critical video of Gorl World out. And Zachary kind of dipped out of Gorl World for a long while. Mainly because Zachary and... Why the hell do I want to say April O'Neil? Amberlynn Reid. Why was that in my head? Zachary Michael and Amberlynn Reid having problems, mainly because Amberlynn Reid is a terrible fucking person and was basically harassing Zachary Michael. And so Zachary Michael was like, nah, I'm out, and quit basically covering at least Amber. I don't know about the rest of Gorl World, but it took Zach out of the cycle for a while, which was good. I'm not mad about that. But this shit happened, and it compelled Zach to make a video discussing Gorl World and Rachel in general. And this kind of puts Zach in an interesting position in this cycle. Not in general, it doesn't put a crown on Zachary's head or anything. It just puts Zach in an interesting position within this particular cycle that we are in, as a moral adjudicator of this particular moment in Gorl World, which, there you go. Morals. But there's some interesting things that Zach points out in their video, and, you know, timestamps I have. We're not going to watch the video. That will take too much time. At one point, Zach says, quote, "I'm not trying to be holier than thou, but I am trying to say that you don't have to pay anybody to make content about Amberlynn's behavior. Amberlynn will tell on herself," something like that. Zach is establishing a type of moral authority here, at the same time saying, "I'm not trying to be holier than thou." But they are trying to point out that in the amount of time that Zachary has been in Gorl World, which has been for a reactor within Gorl World, Zachary is probably one of the OGs, or is one of the OGs. So if you want someone with some experience, this would be one of the people you would turn to. Zachary's kind of pointing out that this is unnecessary. This behavior was unnecessary because there's no need. Amber will eventually tell on herself anyway, so pushing it like this wasn't required. But again, we go back and talk about morals and the establishing, and how morals are the establishment. Zachary, in his position of being one of the founding reactors, not the, but one of the founding reactors of Gorl World, gives them the unique position of being one of the moral establishers of Gorl World, right? So it's just an interesting position to be in. And then to have Zachary come back in to this particular part of Gorl World, because this all revolves around Amberlynn. Amber is involved herself, but we're not going to go over Amber's shit this time. So to have Zach come back into this corner of Gorl World, this Amberlynn corner of Gorl World, because of Rachel's debacle, it allows Zachary to come back in to reestablish the moral grounds that we could argue they were part of establishing in the first place, right? I'm pretty sure "don't touch the poo" is pretty, universal throughout the internet when it comes to any kind of group like this. I'm pretty sure it's probably a lolcow, it's pretty ubiquitous throughout lolcow culture everywhere, right? It's not specific to Gorl World, if you understand me, but we're not talking about all of lolcow culture, right? We're talking about Gorl World right now. So work with me on this one. But to keep going into that, Zachary kind of points out, again, he says, "I do feel like I can stand on some moral high ground when it comes to me versus Rachel." Again, establishing Zachary's position as someone who is a founder of the morals of Gorl World. And before someone misinterprets what I'm doing here, I am not trying to paint Zachary Michael as some kind of like holier than thou, came into Gorl World and started berating us all with some kind of like Bible thumping preacher-esque moment here. That's not what I'm trying to say. I am pointing things out to you guys as I see them through this particular lens. All right. I've got no issues with Zachary Michael. I've got no issues with this video of Zachary Michael's. And I've got no issues with what Zachary said throughout this video. As a matter of fact, I'm using this video because I agree with damn near everything. I don't think there's anything I disagreed with in Zachary Michael's video. So before somebody gets into my comments section and starts leaving me little love notes, before that happens, that's not what's occurring here. I am merely establishing, I'm doing my job here. All right. And again, to kind of build off of what my little tirade right there. Again, Zachary does say, I really do know that I'm putting myself out there to face a lot of accusations of feeling holier than thou. And I realize that by doing this, I am kind of painting them that way as well. However, anticipating this critique and anticipating your critiques of my critique does actually reinforce the moral legitimacy of what Zachary Michael says and what Zachary Michael has done in the past for the establishment of Gorl World as we know it today. All right. So there you have it. So that's just what I wanted to kind of establish here, is that Gorl World, as ridiculous as it is, does have morals. Though you wanted me to talk about this shit, there you go. Gorl World does have morals. And as ridiculous as this sounds, I told you guys it's ridiculous to apply this degree to Gorl World, but one of you was like, "What? Why is that ridiculous?" Because I'm talking about morality within Gorl World. That's why. All right. Anyway, we're going to continue on. And I think the biggest sin, as it usually is, that was made here by these they're all bigger than I am. These channels here was that they transgressed against the morals of Gorl World. All right. And that transgression is what's causing the largest backlash. That, and we will also discuss the parasocial aspect of all of this as well, which is not, it is, but it is not related to the moral aspect here. All right. And I do wonder if, because morals can be fluid, I do wonder if, again, stating Zachary Michael is part of the OG crowd of reactors, if maybe the morals that were established by the OG crowd, if that hasn't shifted to a new set of morals that were being used by this new wave of more popular, and one could argue more powerful reactors, more influential reactors within Gorl World, which would be represented by Rachel and Hectacana and Jawbone and those channels, right? Because with more power and influence within the reaction community and Gorl World in general, that does give you the ability to alter the culture group as a whole, right? You had Zachary Michael, and I want to see Michael B. Petty. Those are the only two names that come to mind, but I know there are others. Feel free to type them down below, who were the establishers of the moral foundations of Gorl World. I'm sitting here like we're some kind of like erudite community, but we're not. But that was then, right? And now we are here. I'm not saying we degraded, but things have changed, and now we are here. And even though Zachary Michael's channel is a massively large channel and has a huge following and a lot of influence within Gorl World, we're here now, and we have other channels that are equally as influential within Gorl World, and newer channels that are coming up to be as equally as influential and impactful on Gorl World. But because of that, they have the ability to alter the moral grounds that were the moral foundations that were established by Zachary Michael and the other OGs of the time. We have Zachary trying to reinforce I would say the ethics then of those morals, where Zachary says at one point, let's see, if we're so desperate for tea that we're willing to put money in the pockets of someone the community considers a death feeder, is it really worth it? And this is where Zachary is interpreting ethical legitimacy, right? Who is inside or outside the ethical order of things? Again, Zachary is reestablishing the moral foundation that was created back in the day, if one will. So this is Zachary trying to reinforce legitimacy here, ethical legitimacy here. Come on, man. Work with me. He says, when you're out here claiming that you're sharing stories about DV to help victims, but you're secretly paying people for tea, there's definitely been a line crossed. And again, using that language of crossing lines, Zachary is the arbiter of the field's moral semantics. And again, we're talking about the established morality that Zachary and the other OGs of this field, the moral foundations that were established. And this is again, Zachary as the arbiter. Am I using that word right? Arbiter. Again, pointing out what is and isn't ethically acceptable for that moral foundation, right? I'm not saying Zachary's up on some like judgment stand with a gavel and I don't know, writing cropped being like, you shall not pass. I'm not saying that's what's happening, though that would be pretty damn funny. But I am trying to point out, there was structure within this culture group. Is it being challenged? One could say yes. Right? So there you go. So yeah, by constructing moral language, Zachary is reestablishing meaning within the system and trying to reestablish guidance to a system or to a group where Zachary sees people going astray, reactors in particular going astray, leaving the moral path that was established. All right. Now, I want to shift I want to shift focus a little from Zachary Michael's video, flipping over to Charlie Gold here. Flirting with Amber Reid's ex for views. Establishing our opinion on that right off the bat. The role that Charlie plays in all of this is the archivist. If Zachary Michael is our moral judge, our moral guide, then Charlie is our archivist here. And she is the one who is the keeper of the receipts. Now, if you don't know how this video came to be, Charlie says that someone on Twitter sent her a bunch of screenshots from the private, no such thing as a private Discord, the private Discord that Rachel et al. Were part of, and Charlie decided to put this video together and justifies it within the video as to why, and we'll get into that. So Charlie does start off saying, let me be very clear, this is all just mess and drama. She is trying to, in that line, it sounds like she is trying to downplay the importance or the reaction that a lot of people in the community had to this. And again, we'll cover that in when I finally do talk about parasocial, the parasocial aspect of this, which will probably won't be in this video. But it also kind of establishes, I know it sounds strange, but it kind of establishes the professional aspect of this video. Now, don't get me wrong, this video is very well put together and all of that, so you just have to watch it for it to be fair. And I will be linking all of these videos, including Rachel's video, in case anyone wants to go watch it. It's only fair. But I don't care. It's only fair. You don't have to go watch it. But so another thing that Charlie says, which is why she gets the title of archivist, is one of my favorite hobbies is watching liars tell their lies while knowing I have the receipts to debunk it. And again, Charlie explains how she came about the receipts for this. And she also states that she doesn't share every receipt that she received, which is interesting because after this video came out, more stuff came out on various channels, Jawbone being one of them, Jordy being another one. And Charlie had to put out another video, only furthering her title of archivist, showing why that video was an issue. And I don't know if I should discuss that right this second. You guys get mad at me when I vague this stuff, though. Another video came out, which was a voice note from Emily to Rachel about Amberlynn. And in that video, Jawbone, I think, was the first one to play it. I think Jordy also played it, but I don't know if Jordy was playing Jawbone's version of it or if Jordy was playing his own version of it. Either way, it was an edited version of the clip that Charlie apparently had the full version of, which means that the video or the audio clip was shared on the private Discord. So anyone on that Discord had access to it. But the problem was the version that Charlie had, the unedited version that Charlie had and shared, because it had already been shared. In it, Emily states twice that this audio clip was not meant to be shared with anyone other than Emily to Rachel. And it was stated twice in that audio clip. And so when Jawbone put it up on his channel, he had cut both of those sections out. And since it's just audio, it's hard to tell that that had been edited because it's, with video, you can tell when the video is being choppy and shitty. But with audio, it's kind of hard to tell when audio has been edited, especially if it's edited well. And again, I don't know if Jordy was playing Jawbone's version of it or if Jordy had also decided to edit it that way. Either way, now Jawbone and Jordy are both in a little bit of hot water for putting out an edited version of a audio clip that was clearly not meant to be shared. But the only place they could have gotten that from was Rachel, because that audio clip had been given to Rachel from Emily. But again, that goes back to Charlie, who was given all of this stuff by a third party who had been a member of that private Discord, and goes back to Charlie early in the video stating that she had lots of receipts, but she wasn't going to share all of them, and explaining why, because she didn't feel that she needed to, or that some of the stuff should be shared. And again, this is establishing Charlie's moral foundation, which lines up with Zachary Michael's moral foundations, but going back to our earliest discussion about poo touching. Is this poo touching? Because this is, even though it's coming from a third party, this is information that Charlie would not otherwise have about a scandal, a debacle, of what have you, of other people touching poo. Don't get me wrong. Other people are touching the poo. But now it's being handed to Charlie in a unsolicited way. Charlie didn't ask for this. Someone just approached Charlie with it. And Charlie was able to identify while going over some of this stuff that, hey, this isn't for public consumption. And so Charlie was like, okay, well, this section is okay. These things are okay, but this isn't, right? Are we still poo touching? Right? Is it still ethical? Remember that morals is the foundation, ethics is the performance. Is it still ethical? Right? And another thing that Charlie states here, after establishing that she has the receipts to debunk the lies, she then states, I wanted to have a wider reach, a reach beyond a simple tweet, because Charlie had been tweeting out some of the screenshots because Rachel had been, this is post Rachel's video? No. This is prior to Rachel's video. But it was after Rachel's community post. That's what it was. Anyway, Charlie had been tweeting out some of the screenshots that she had received. And so Charlie says, I wanted to have a wider reach, a reach beyond a simple tweet. Charlie has a decent following on Twitter/X, but Charlie also has a much wider reach through videos, and videos also get shared past just the viewership. So this was Charlie using her reach, her influence through her audience, and establishing herself as a servant of truth, more journalistic. We'll talk about that in another video, a completely separate video. But it is also a way of establishing ethics, of Charlie establishing her ethics, not moral. I mean, it is her morals, but it is her ethics in action, right? We've established Charlie's morals. This is ethics. I wanted to have a wider reach, a reach beyond a simple tweet. This is her performing the morals. This is ethics. All right. So that is what's going on here. Charlie goes on to define terms within the conversation that she is going to have in her video, and we might even have in this video. And it is a way of controlling the narrative, right? We talk about manipulation on this channel. We talk about video being inherently manipulative. This is a perfect, not Charlie's video, this whole event, this entire event, and Rachel's video especially, is a perfect example of what I mean when I say video is inherently manipulative, because you only see what I want you to see. So Charlie in her video starts to establish language that goes forward, and it actually starts to color the overall conversation around this. So it has reach outside of Charlie's video because it colors the conversation around this event in other people's videos as well. It reaches the conversation inside online communities, Discords, Reddits, what have you, Twitter. So the language that Charlie establishes here has effects outside of Charlie's videos, right? And this is narrative control. Is it intentional? I think so. But is it, haha, I'm going to sit here and manipulate it? No, I don't think so. But I do think it is Charlie wanting to control the narrative in a way that Charlie felt or feels is conductive to the conversation. Is that manipulation? Yes. Absolutely. Influence is manipulation. It's just a nicer way of saying it. Right? All right, so here we go. Before I get nasty comments about this, I am not saying Charlie is manipulative. Follow the conversation. If Charlie is manipulative, so am I. Anyway, feel free to write that down. Charlie says they get too comfortable and they forget the number one rule of Discord. It is never, ever private. No, I just switched those words around, but still the quote stands. This is Charlie, again, establishing the definition of privacy. All right. And again, I don't disagree. There's no such thing as a private Discord. I've been saying that all video. But we are defining privacy here. And this is an important definition to have throughout the rest of the conversation, because it's an argument that Rachel tries to establish later on. Because part of the argument that Rachel, Jawbone, Hectacana, Deets et al., that they try to establish from this point forward is a privacy violation because of the screenshots from the Discord. And again, we have to, Charlie feels the need to establish that Discords are not private. All right. So this is a definition that Charlie has to put out there. And again, is Charlie the first person to define Discords as not being private? No. But it's an important moment within this cycle that this is now being defined. Because now we can come back to this. Discords are not private, right? And as Charlie is the holder of the receipts that came from said Discord, this is an important definition for Charlie to establish. Charlie then comes in and says, very bluntly, Rachel is a liar and a manipulator. Again, these are important terms for Charlie to establish going forward because we are defining who Rachel is going forward. These are Charlie's terms. Again, trying to stay neutral. But this is a linguistic classification. It's defining Rachel's identity. And it's controlling the narrative around Rachel. All right? And it's something that has to be done in Charlie's video in order for the video to go forward, right? I do recommend watching the video. The next thing that is established here is there are no saints in this space. That is a fact. I really like that line, actually. But what this does is it establishes that there is no one within this space, or this is what Charlie is establishing, that there is no one within the reactor space who is innocent, who has not sinned in some way, who has not broken the morals and acted in an unethical way within Gorl World, right? That's what it is. That's what this is establishing. And this is an important moment here because much like when I say things like, I am a participant observer, it's hard for me to stay neutral because, you know, I have my biases. This is Charlie doing the same thing. That there are no saints in this space, that is a fact. Charlie is now lumping herself into this same group, right? She is not a saint because she exists within this space. So this is Charlie establishing language around her own identity, right? So a lot has happened within these three little quotes here. There's a lot happens within this video, but I got quotes, all right? But this is Charlie establishing her moral foundation, her ethical actions, and establishing the language that she needs to have in order for her argument within her video to go forward. And because her video, because Charlie is one of the newer channels that has, and she's like, not new, but like second wave channel, but she has a lot of influence within the Gorl World reactor community with the reaction watching community audience. There we go. When Charlie defines terms and defines identities, it has a larger impact outside of just the video. Like I said earlier, these things her terms become definitions that affect conversations within other spheres of social media. Okay, now we're coming to Rachel's video. Rachel's role in this cycle is the transgressor. Rachel is the one who put this all into motion, intentionally or otherwise. Would be interesting if this was intentional and Rachel was just like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just push the little snowball down the cliff, and I just want to see what it does. I want to watch the little snowball become an avalanche. Push. It would be interesting if that's what happened, but I don't think that's what happened. Anyway. Now, Rachel puts out this video, which is exposing everything with screenshots. This was the right video, yeah? Yes, this was the right one. I had to look at the screenshot. Anyway, this was Rachel's attempt to defend herself, to explain her behavior in the Discord, because it has been exposed by this point. Her language within the Discord, her comment of "I will wipe my tears with banknotes," just in general. And she had already put her community post up explaining the whole offering Emily money for Emily's story. And then in the Discord, it comes out that she had been flirting with Emily to get Emily to feel comfortable, basically, or with her. A lot of things came out. Anyway, this was Rachel's attempt to explain it. It didn't go well. This was her attempt to try to smooth things over with the audience. She says, we are going to talk about everything. Everyone will know exactly what has happened. And this is her attempt to appear completely transparent, as if she's going to bring out everything that had been hidden. It also implies that everyone who has been talking about this stuff up to this point has been telling half-truths, right? And so it's an attempt to reestablish her reputation, but it is also an attempt to kind of tarnish the reputation of the people around her. And this, I will not lie, at certain points, this becomes a clash of reputations within reactors in Gorl World, right? What she attempts to do from this point forward is to redefine moments within the screenshots as things that they are not, or trying to reframe them as, if she tries to gaslight us. I don't have a better way of putting that. I don't know if that was done because Rachel truly didn't understand why people were upset at the things that were said in the Discord screenshots and elsewhere, the text messages and the screenshots, or if Rachel truly was trying to overtly manipulate people's perception of what they read. So I don't know which one of those it was. Either way, it didn't work and it didn't come off well. And I know people have their opinions one way or the other. I am staying neutral in this video because I've already made my videos on this. So again, if you want to watch those, they're on my channel. So, for example, her quip about wiping her tears with the banknotes, she tries to reframe that as a joke and tries to reestablish that as a joke around Jordy, which, if in context to the screenshot, it is very clear that it is in context of a comment about Jordy and Jordy talking about people not really being that upset about her paying Emily for tea. I hate that term. And not about Amber's ex, Beck. But Rachel tries to reframe it as if people had thought that it was about. She tried to reframe it in a way to make it seem like people had thought she was talking about Beck when no one thought that. And then as that straw argument, from that straw argument, tried to reframe the argument to what everyone was aware that the joke had been made from a comment about Jordy. Which was weird. So, but I'm not entirely sure why that happened. But what happened, but the actions were a creation of a straw argument in order to gaslight us into the actuality of it, which the audience already knew. I don't understand the creation of the straw argument. So that happened. And then another interesting thing that occurred is she says, "This is something I do that makes me money and I find very interesting." It is because a lot of this did center around the offering of money to Emily for Emily's story, and then the refusal to pay Emily the money that she had offered her, and then bringing back into the conversation, because there's this financial aspect to this whole conversation, there's a need to normalize the aspect of money and profit in this conversation, in the overarching conversation, in the whole cycle, right? So that's this is something I do that makes money and I find it very interesting. There's a lot of conversation around money and income and profit from YouTube specifically, and Gorl World more importantly, right? Because this is an attempt to normalize profit and to normalize frankness around the profit, the money aspect of YouTube. This is a masking in an attempt to appear more authentic, right? And maybe it is authentic for her. But again, it didn't quite come off the way I think Rachel was trying for it to come off. Because pretty much any channel that is monetized, which is a fair number of the reaction channels, are monetized. And all of the both Charlie, I don't know, I'm using my pinky, both Charlie and Zachary Michael and myself do address the profit aspects of our channels being monetized. But again, establishing the morality of how that profit is made through our channels. What is and isn't acceptable in the pursuit of profit via our channel. And I'm not talking like sponsorships, which, I mean, maybe that's a conversation, but in this moment, in this cycle, that's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about poo touching, literally. Well, figuratively. I mean, maybe literally. I don't want to do that. Anyhow, the point is, Rachel is trying to normalize poo touching for profit. That's what's occurring here. So if the moral foundation is no poo touching for profit, which it is, that is the moral foundation here. No poo touching for profit. What is occurring is Rachel is questioning the ethics of it. That is what's occurring here, which it's itself ethical. Because as I said way at the beginning of this video, if anyone was still paying attention at that point, it is also ethical to question morals. So ethics is both the performance of good, what is considered good, but it is also questioning what is good. So Rachel's role in this cycle is the transgressor. And because that is her role, it is naturally her role then to question the morals of Gorlworld, right? So we have Zachary Michael, who is the founder, the establisher of those morals. We have Charlie, who is the recorder and the supporter of those morals. And now we have Rachel, who is coming in and questioning those, right? That is the cycle. We're finally getting to that part. Yay, cycles. But a lot like Charlie establishing definitions in order to control narrative going forward, Rachel also tries to do this. And this comes back to, remember, I don't know how many of you are still here for this, but way at the beginning, we discussed the concept of privacy and how Rachel et al. Are going to try to define privacy. And that's where this concept of the private Discord is going to come in. And Rachel says there was a private Discord where Juicy Tea, which still hasn't come out yet, she and the others try and are still trying to establish that this Discord that they were all part of was a private Discord. Thereby, anything inside that Discord is private. So using any of that information is a violation of privacy and should be morally looked down upon because, you know, morally, obviously, it's immoral to use private information in Gorlworld. Sure. So, caveats. When is it ethical to violate that rule? Well, for starts, there's no such thing, again, going back to Charlie, there's no such thing as a private Discord. So, the attempt to redefine a Discord as private, now we have two clashing definitions here. And we don't know which one's going to win out. Well, probably Charlie's, because legally, I don't think I do believe somebody was telling me, don't quote me on this one, but I don't think anyone would legally let you say, my Discord is private, ergo you cannot use this in a court of law. I don't think that would fly. I really just don't. And since that wouldn't fly in a court of law, I don't think it could fly in the court of public opinion. It just won't. Especially when it is far too easy for anyone to just take screenshots and push, there you go. Screenshots and just find a reactor and just dump them on a reactor. Hey! Which is exactly what happened. Right? If it hadn't been Charlie, it could have been anybody else. So, again, when is it ethical to touch the poo? But so we've got this conflicting definition of what a private Discord is, or if a Discord is private. Rachel then does a couple interesting things that I would say are an attempt to discredit. And not only discredit whoever the Discord leak is, who I don't know who it is as of right now, and today is November the 10th at 6 p.m. I currently, at this moment, do not know who the Discord leak is. It could be being revealed right at this moment, and I don't know. All right, but in this second, I don't know. But Rachel does two very interesting things, and that is, one, tries to discredit this unknown leak. And I think it's because Rachel thinks in the moment that she does know who the leak is. And then also tries to discredit Charlie and anyone, honestly, using these screenshots, because she says things like the leaker has no backbone, and basically calls them out for sneaking around and not just coming to Rachel to settle their differences, right? So she's discrediting this unknown person, calling them a coward, basically, oh, if you had a problem with me, we could have settled this, kind of a thing. So she's trying to basically like have a character assassination of this unknown person, and that so that when this person finally does be revealed, because they will, it will happen, but when this person finally does come out and we finally know who this person is, the character assassination has already occurred, right? So that's one interesting thing that is occurring here. So she has established that this is a private Discord, so this person has violated privacy of not only Rachel, but everyone else in the Discord. And then has also cowardly, I don't care, gone behind everyone's back and gifted or sent these screenshots to Charlie, and implies that this is basically just an attention grab, and that if this person really had an issue with them, they could have just come to Rachel or any of them and talked to them about it, as opposed to just running off to a reaction channel. The irony of this entire thing is mind-blowing, to be perfectly frank. But anyhow, the other interesting thing that Rachel attempts to do here as a narrative control is Rachel tries to imply that there are screenshots that are not being used intentionally to mislead the audience about Rachel and the others. Now, I did mention when I went over Charlie's video that Charlie said that there are more screenshots and receipts that Charlie chose not to use. And it gave an example of one and why Charlie chose not to use it. But again, I was establishing Charlie's moral foundation by using that example. So one could assume there's a reason for the others not being used as well. Rachel is trying to challenge that by saying there are more that are not being used specifically to make me look bad, to muddle the timeline, to have missing pieces of conversation, that my character is being assassinated, that I am being made to look bad, I and my friends are being made to look bad by not releasing all of the screenshots, So this is a manipulation tactic on Charlie's behalf in order to make me look worse. So it's kind of it's an attempt to turn her audience or the audience against the critics, her critics, by making her critics look bad, right? So she's trying to do two things. She's trying to make whoever the leak is look bad before they're even revealed. And she's trying to make the people who are challenging her with these screenshots look bad in order to preserve her own appearance and reputation, right? So those are the two interesting things that are occurring here as part of Rachel trying to take control of the narrative from her end. So she's trying to redefine what private is so that she can claim privacy violation here. At the same time, she's trying to make herself and the others in the Discord look better by making the people who have acted out against her look worse. Right? Now, my position in this whole debacle. All right, my position in all of this is the ethnographer of this cycle. I am not outside of the drama. I am witnessing and interacting with it from the inside, right? I am the participant observer of it. I am witnessing it and observing it, but because of that, it is affected by my observation of it. I am actually occupying a very classical observer participant position within anthropology. But it also creates a very classic paradox because you want to be able to be unbiased and neutral and able to step back and be like, I wonder why they're doing that. But at the same time, you're in it. And for the most part, you kind of know why people are doing it. I'm trying to stay transparent while at the same time admitting my participation in the spectacle here. And archiving it at the same time. Where Charlie is the archivist of the receipts and of the moral foundations of Gorl World, I am archiving this event and the reaction of Gorl World to and around this event, while at the same time being a participant in that event. Fully aware that my participation of that event not only affects my view of it, but also affects how the people within it act around me. So I try to reconstruct all of this in a way that feels, to me, as unbiased as possible, with the full understanding that it can't be. Right? Because first off, I know that there are probably pieces that I have missed, pieces I don't have access to, pieces that I may not have thought were of particular importance that maybe others do. So again, that's another failure of bias, and also understanding that, like, not everybody's going to necessarily agree with my interpretation of this event. Some of you don't even give two craps about what's happening, and I don't blame you, honestly. I mean, as Charlie said, this is all just mess and drama. At the end of the day, we turn off the camera and we go to bed. It's really not the end of the world that any of this is occurring, right? it's just fascinating. Um, as Rachel said, this is just something I find interest in and I enjoy doing 90% of the time. There are days where I just turn the camera off. I'm not going to lie. But that's kind of the point. But it is very interesting to watch an establishment of morality and ethics and to see those morals and ethics be challenged and changed and reestablished and reinforced and that kind of a thing, both within reaction and the reaction community and reactors, but also within the community that watches, who watches the watchers, kind of a thing. The audience itself. The audience is also held to standards, to morals and ethics as well. I mean, their audience is not supposed to touch the poo either, right? So this is also something fascinating. And again, as I said, I am a reactor, but I am also a member of the audience. I do also watch other reactors. So I am fully aware of my participation in both groups. That's, I guess, that's the challenge. That's the challenge of it all. And that's where the fun of this comes in. That's where the fun of trying to apply the anthropology to Gorl World comes in. I mean, this is fun. Does it have any application to the real world? I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, I'm hoping that maybe people picking up some stuff. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're enjoying some of this. Maybe you learned something about the anthropology of moral and ethics that you'll go dig into something deeper and learn from somebody who knows way more about it than I do. You know, but now you know there's an anthropology of it. I don't know. Maybe I opened a door for you here. There is more about this that I want to talk about. I definitely want to talk about the parasocial aspects of this whole meltdown. Again, fully aware that I am definitely a participant in that parasocial whole thing there. But this video is way too long at this point, and I don't want to make it longer than it is. Y'all say you like the long videos, but I don't. So I'm going to cut this video here. If you have made it this far in the video, go ahead and put, I think there's a yellow book emoji. I am 90% sure there's a yellow book emoji. If there is, go ahead and put the yellow book emoji down in the comment section. If not, get creative and let me know what you guys think. If you have questions, comments, concerns, down in the comment section down below, please leave timestamps so that I can figure out what the hell I was talking about in that moment, because I will totally forget. I will try to have timestamps put into the video. Probably it'll be a little bit after the video goes live, just because that's how it works, unfortunately. So there you have it. Y'all, I fry my brain on these. I'm not going to lie. I'm just like brain dead after these. I go play Sims and I'm just like, ugh. Anyway, so thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel. Thank you to my subscribers. Thank you to my members. You guys rock. Thank you to everybody who's going to hit the thumbs up button. I will be doing a part 2 of this where we're going to discuss parasocial relationships, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that I talked to the discords that I'm a member of, and just things that I thought were interesting that people had to say about this whole to-do. And so look for part 2. And that's all I've got for you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and I'm going to put out some other content that doesn't have anything to do with this in the future. So if you haven't become a member and you like my content, I'm so fucking brain dead, go ahead and join. Don't forget to the like button, and I will see everybody in the next one. Bye!
This is my outro music. You can't copyright strike me because it's just me singing. This is my outro music. Thank you for watching. See you next time.